Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Trump. Trump. It's Sunday, and we're talking about Trump again. And what's he talking about? Canada. Again, 51st state, tariffs. He's obsessed. We're going to talk about Trump because Trump's talking about us up here in Canada again. There's also something going on in Idaho. I'm going to check that out. Thank you, Dragon, for alerting me. I see him in the chat saying that there is a story to check out there. So we'll figure out what that's all about and then share that with you tonight. We are also going to, at the end of the program, bring you a Dukes of Hazzard generally jump. Yeah. And that's going to tie into a broader discussion about racism and the Confederate flag. And I have an interview with Ben Cooter Jones of the Dukes of Hazzard lined up. So he'll be on later on in the program. Now, I have to confess, it's an older interview, but it's entirely relevant tonight because of that Dukes of Hazzard jump and the other element associated with all of this, the racism issue. So I did an interview with Ben Cooter Jones from the Dukes of Hazzard some years ago, and it still resonates today, and it will resonate tonight when we come back and start digging in to tonight's top news stories here on Maverick News.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
So we have a breaking news situation out of Idaho. Firefighters being fired upon. There's an active shooter incident ongoing. This is direct from the North Idaho News. Kootenai County Sheriff's Office in northern Idaho reporting an active shooter incident. Fire department says multiple firefighters shot and injured while responding to an incident on Coeur d'Alene. I'm not familiar with the town, not familiar with the area. Hope I'm pronouncing these names correctly. Let me get you some video, show you what's going on. Okay, so an Idaho man started a fire, waited for firefighters to arrive. This is what we're seeing online, and then started shooting at them. The world is going insane. Not going, it has gone insane. People coming to help other people, and the people on the receiving end of the help think that the people coming to help them are coming to hurt them. It's a recurring theme. It is not good. I don't know what the situation is here. I might be speaking a little bit prematurely on this, but yeah, that is a recurring theme. I hope we resolve this with
got in the road again. I was like, move.
Yeah. Let me see what else I can find for you here on this tonight. So this just 1 hour ago, posted by North Idaho News, last update until press release, several firefighters shot, law enforcement officers reportedly shot, appears to be an ambush. This is from the North Idaho News. Suspected there are additional shooting victims on the hill. Assistance from Spokane en route. Life Flight Network sending all available helicopters. Stay out of the area. So this is a developing story. Yeah, so the story is, this is all preliminary, that someone set a fire on purpose, and then as firefighters are lured into the area, it appears they were ambushed. Shots fired at them. Multiple people shot tonight. Here we go. More posts from the North Idaho News breaking this story tonight. Shots fired with firefighters down on Canfield. Crews are evacuating law enforcement en route. Avoid the area. Law enforcement reported exchanging gunfire. Shooter is still shooting at anyone they see moving. That's, I don't know if that's still current. Fire crews are being shot at. Several have been shot, according to radio traffic. Fire was intentionally set to draw in firefighters. I caution everyone, this information is preliminary, and it is not coming directly from an official source. As far as I know, that is from the Idaho Tribune. But honestly, we don't know if that is accurate or not. Heavy activity. We'll continue to follow this through the evening. See what we can find out as the night progresses and more information is released by police and other investigators down there. So let me take a little break because that kind of threw me for a loop there. We'll be right back.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay. So we know here's what we know about this situation in Idaho. Firefighters reportedly ambushed by a gunman while responding to a brush fire in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Kootenai County Sheriff's Department reporting. This is coming directly from the Kootenay County Sheriff's Department, so I think that is verifiable at this point. The incident unfolded after this brush fire broke out on Cadfield Mountain earlier this afternoon. Fire personnel responded to the blaze, and when they arrived, a gunman began to shoot at them. This gunman was apparently in the woods, according to officials, and law enforcement is investigating to determine if the fire was intentionally set as a way to lure in firefighters and other first responders to the scene. This scene is even now considered to be an active shooter situation, and a shelter-in-place order has been issued for Canfield Mountain Trailhead and the surrounding area in Idaho. FBI is on site assisting authorities in Kootenay County, and it is still an ongoing developing story tonight. So, breaking news, and we have it for you here as it is unfolding on Maverick News. Thanks to Dragon, because he was monitoring things and let me know so that I could let you know. Now back to our lead story tonight. Donald Trump. He has Trudeau derangement syndrome. Still talking about Trudeau in this interview that he did today with Maria Bartiromo on Fox News. And it's not just Trudeau, it's Canada. He is obsessed with Kanakistan. He wants to make us the 51st state. Still talking about it. And this just days after he rekindled his tough talk on tariffs, saying that he is suspending all trade talks effective immediately with Canada. Talking tough again because of the digital services tax in Canada. And then he was also citing the tariffs that Canada imposes on U.S. dairy product. One minute with him, though, it's 250%. The next minute is 400% on dairy. He can't keep his numbers straight because he just makes them up off the top of his head. Now, I will say that in the case of the dairy industry and a lot of agribusiness in Canada, yeah, we have hefty tariffs in place because we are not really interested in trading with any other nations, not just the United States, but anybody. And people may not understand what I am talking about with regard to that. But basically what we have done is we've created an agricultural industry where we are self-sufficient. We produce enough food and plus more surplus to supply our own market. And then what we do is we don't sell it into the United States. Any surplus gets dumped, but we overproduce for our own market and then restrict supply to keep the pricing at a level that is sustainable for farmers, especially small family farm operations and smaller farm operations, period. And these policies insulate us from massive U.S. corporate competition, big U.S. agribusiness, which, if allowed to come into our market, there are a lot of concerns that family farms would be destroyed and smaller farming operations in Canada would just be swallowed up whole by these bigger, massive U.S. corporate factory farming operations down in the U.S. That is really what the fear is. It's also about food standards. Our standards, the standards we have for milk are different in Canada than they are in the United States. It's about what goes into your milk, hormones and other chemicals and drugs and things of that nature. We don't put much of any of that into the food that we have up here in Canada. It's quite a bit different down in the States. But all that being said, Trump today in this interview on Fox News just went beyond that again. And what's he talking about? Oh yeah, Canada as the 51st state. Okay, let's bring him up here. And he just can't help himself. And I think I know why. It's not just because they want access to our market. They want the whole enchilada because he's got his sights set, I think, on massive land acquisition, all of North America and Greenland.
And they have to pay 200, 300, 400%. People don't know that. Canada is a very tough country to deal with. I will say that.
But
and I love Canada.
you have USMCA in place.
I know, but
You'll have to do it.
but USMCA is no good if they cheat.
What does that mean?
Well, there's been things going on that we don't like, and things going on where they took advantage. And hopefully we'll be fine with Canada. I love Canada. Frankly, Canada should be the 51st state. Okay, it really should, because Canada relies entirely on the United States. We don't rely on Canada.
Well, he's not really. He's kind of fibbing just a little bit, especially on the dairy tariffs. See, that's what he's not telling you. In that interview, he says he talks about the way U.S. dairy farmers are upset by the way they're treated by Canadian farmers, as though we are dumping our product into the U.S. market or something, competing with them. When the opposite is true. Actually, there's very little. I say very little. I think it's about $100 million a year in trade either way. I'd have to look up the numbers, but there's a certain amount of trade that goes back and forth, a very small amount with no tariffs, and then tariffs kick in, and it's a graduated formula. But the bottom line is, yeah, we do have very high tariffs because we are protecting our market, but we don't dump into the U.S. market. We're not interested in selling down there. And in fact, that's why the supply is managed by dumping product. Like they literally dump milk down the drain in Canada because we don't export it to the U.S. or any other country because we don't want to disrupt international markets. And we want to preserve price integrity in the product in Canada. And it is designed to protect Canadian farming operations, especially smaller farming operations, to make sure that our food sovereignty is protected against foreign competition so that no matter what happens, we're not dependent on a foreign country for our food ever. And people are saying right now, well, we need to decouple from the United States more, right? We need to assert our sovereignty that way. We need to become less dependent on the United States and diversify our economy and shift even more over to Europe, which we have. Canada has been spawned from the UK. That's why we still have a connection to the monarchy. That's why King Charles came over to read the throne speech in the House of Commons, because that's where our heritage is. And in that way, we're actually, in many respects, a much older country than even the United States, if you want to look at it that way. Now, Canada itself, as a sovereign nation state, is much younger. It's only just over 150 years old. But that being said, we do have strong links through the past into Europe, and that's why Prime Minister Carney has pivoted. He hasn't pivoted. He campaigned on this and said, well, we're going to do more trade with Europe, and we're not looking back. We're not going to be nostalgic about the way things have been or were with the United States, because Donald Trump has changed the terms of the game, the rules of the game. They're all different. And if the U.S. doesn't want to play because they think that we're difficult to get along with, then we'll have to trade with other people, other places. And we can do that. That's our right as a sovereign nation state. And Trump saying, we don't even need Canada. Canada is entirely reliant on us. Well, the fact that he's even talking about the dairy industry, folks, and I'm just trying to open your eyes here a little bit. The fact that he's talking about the dairy industry proves just the opposite. Because if we don't matter, then why does he care about our dairy industry? We're not dumping product into the U.S. We don't treat the United States unfairly. We don't buy much milk or dairy product from the U.S. either. There's a little bit that goes back and forth, but not really. It's almost non-existent. We are a self-contained, self-supplying, self-sufficient market. When it comes to dairy, we produce enough for ourselves plus more that we throw away because we make sure that we have enough. And what we're saying is, thank you, USA. You're our friend. You're our ally, but we don't want to do trade on dairy. And he's saying, you're being unfair to us. We want access to your market. That's what he's saying. He wants to be able to sell massive amounts of dairy product into the Canadian market. And we're saying, no, thanks. We don't want to buy it. Yes, you have to buy our product. No, we don't want any dairy product. Thank you. We have plenty of that. Let's talk about other stuff that we can buy. Now, I don't know about you, but when you talk about choice, and I see all these conservatives out there who don't understand this issue saying, well, people are saying buy Canadian. Screw that. I have choice when I go to shop at Walmart. Well, do you? Okay, well, good for you. But we as a country, don't we also have a choice in what we buy or don't buy, what we choose to engage in with regard to trade? Well, we do collectively, like we vote for these things in elections. We vote for these things even at the party level. And this is the policy that has been in place for a long time. And I have to say, I used to be more of an advocate for more free trade on the dairy issue. But seeing what's going on with Trump right now, where he's trying to coerce us into conducting trade on this front, I'm like, well, screw that. I don't want to be forced into buying and selling things that I maybe don't want, because I don't really want more hormones in my milk, and I don't want my chickens injected with vaccines or other drugs. I want my food as clean as possible. I don't know why other people don't either, but these are things that the freedom people up here in Canada seem to be just overlooking, and a lot of other people too. But this is not a simple issue, because there are all these other layers to it that are being masked by Trump's bombastic rhetoric. Well, Mark Carney, he is an extremely well-educated economist, and in many respects more conservative, frankly, than Pierre Poilievre. That's why Stephen Harper asked Mark Carney at one point to be his finance minister. And if you take the time to actually read even the housing plan that Carney came up with, it's much more conservative than even what Pierre Poilievre came up with. I'm sorry, you can sit there and shoot the messenger if you want, because you get triggered when people tell you these things. It blows up your little bubble in your little world for some of you, but it's true. It's just absolutely true. And Carney, this is what he said this week with regard to all of this. He's not looking back. He's looking ahead. And I have to say, I think largely overall so far, the Canadian approach to this tariff war has been reasonably effective.
Oh, in that context, as you just said, in hard times, we might say even a hinge moment of history, a world that's more dangerous and divided, a time where the rules-based international, the global order, rules-based global order is under threat, in a time when technological change is accelerating. And we really have two choices as a jurisdiction, as a country in this circumstance. We can nostalgically look back and long for the old order to somehow return, or we can build a new one with purpose and partnership. And as the most...
So now I don't know where it's all going to go in the long run. And I know we're talking about carbon taxes and, all these other issues as well. And time will tell where Carney ends up and what his legacy will ultimately be. But I'll tell you this, thank God he chopped that carbon tax, because look at what has happened with the price of oil just in the last week or so. And if he hadn't cut that carbon tax, we'd probably be paying close to $2 a liter. And today, I think it's about $1.30, $1.31 where I'm at a liter. That's a far cry from $2. So thank God for that. And I know a lot of that. I know that has transpired because of, pressure from the conservatives. But I'll take it any way I can get it, man. And he's followed through, and I just hope that holds too. But, he's got a whole Liberal Party behind him or beside him or pushing him and pulling him. So we'll see where he ends up in the long run. But right now, he's sticking up for the country, and I'm cool with that. I'm not married to any political brand, man. I just want results. I want my country to remain intact. That's where I'm at. And especially in the face of, this lunacy that's coming from Donald Trump. I mean, it's absolutely freaking insane. Absolutely insane. 51st state. Again, still today, tonight. Why is he talking about this again? Why? It's totally unnecessary. I'm telling you, it's because he subscribes to this vision of a reconstituted new multipolar geopolitical reality where the world is being carved up into spheres of influence and control, hemispheres of influence and control, with Russia controlling basically all of Eurasia, China controlling Asia, Trump and the United States controlling all of North America, the Western Hemisphere basically, and all the way up into Greenland, which is another insane plan. They have a plan to actually invade using military force if necessary to take over Greenland. I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing. I never thought I'd hear anything like that in my lifetime. I cannot believe I'm even saying it tonight, and we've said it multiple times. And I keep telling everybody, he's serious. He's telling you he's serious. What more do you want to hear? What more do you need to hear to understand that this is a real thing? It's absolutely a real thing. So open your eyes. People keep saying, wake up. It's an overused cliche, but I'm saying it again right here tonight. Wake up. He's coming for Canada. He wants us. He needs us. They're deep in debt, and we've got all the cards because we've got the resources.
Canada, and I don't think I've heard you say this in all of the talk about Canada becoming the 51st state. You're concerned that if they became the 51st state, they would be a very, very blue state. Very, very big and very, very blue.
No, there might be, but it would, you have that artificial line that goes, that straight artificial, that looked like it was drawn by a ruler. Somebody with I don't mean a ruler like a king, I mean like a ruler, this way. And it's just an artificial line that was drawn in the sand or in the ice. And can I tell you, Peter, just you add that to this country, what a beautiful landmass, the most beautiful landmass anywhere in the world. And it was just cut off for whatever reason. It would be great. Now, is it liberal? Maybe. But, a conservative until I got involved, because I don't care who wins up there. I frankly probably would do better with a liberal than the conservative, if you want to know the truth. But just a little while ago, before I got involved and totally changed the election, which I don't care about, probably it's to our advantage,
yes,
actually.
He does. He cares.
But the conservative was leading against, I call him Governor Trudeau. The conservative was leading by 35 points. So, so I don't know about that. I think Canada is a place like a lot of other places. If you have a good candidate, the candidate's going to win.
That's an older clip, but relevant tonight because he's trying to suggest in a roundabout way, maybe in a direct way, that Canada is not a real country. It's just an artificial line. It is not true. Canada is a sovereign state, and that line is not really just artificial. I, just dug in to just check my facts on some of the history here. That boundary line is often referred to as the longest undefended border in the world. It was shaped by a whole series of historical events, a lot of treaties, negotiations between the U.S. and Britain, which controlled Canada, of course, before its confederation in 1867. And while Trump has called this an artificial line, it oversimplifies a very complex process, which has been rooted in diplomacy, through history, through conflict, and geography. So to get to that place where we're at today, we had the Treaty of Paris in 1783. After the American Revolutionary War, that treaty ended hostilities between Britain and the United States and established the first rough boundary between the U.S. and British North America, primarily along the 45th parallel, the Great Lakes, and the St. Lawrence River. But that treaty's vague descriptions led to disputes, especially in the Northeast. And then there was the Jay Treaty that followed in 1794, and that addressed lingering boundary ambiguities, particularly in the Northeast, set up and was set up by commissioners to survey and clarify the border. Then in 1818, there was a new treaty called the Treaty of 1818, and that treaty resolved several issues, setting the 49th parallel as the boundary from the Lake of the Woods in the Minnesota area to the Rocky Mountains. It also established joint U.S.-British control over the Oregon country, which was the Pacific Northwest for the time being. Then we had the Webster-Ashburton Treaty in 1842. Yeah, a lot of work went into that there artificial line, Donald. This resolved in 1842 disputes in the Northeast, particularly the Maine-New Brunswick border. It clarified the boundary through the Great Lakes and settled the Aroostook War, a bloodless conflict, which probably everyone out there has never heard of because they just don't teach history adequately in the schools today. But it was a bloodless conflict over timberlands, and that treaty used natural features like rivers and watersheds as well as negotiated lines. Then there was the Oregon Treaty in 1846, and that extended the 49th parallel as the boundary from the Rockies to the Pacific Ocean, giving the U.S. control of the Oregon Territory south of the line, modern Washington, Oregon, and parts of Idaho, which we were just talking about. And Britain also gave them control north of in Vancouver Island in the north, and then Vancouver Island remained British despite dipping below the 49th parallel. And then in 1903, that famous Alaska boundary dispute, very famous, especially if you know your history, maybe not as famous if you don't, after the U.S. purchased Alaska from Russia in 1867. And I think some people are familiar with that because with Trump talking about Greenland, the history of the purchase of Alaska from Russia and Russia talking about taking Alaska back and all of that has made the news over the past couple of years. And so disputes arose over the Alaska Panhandle's boundary with British Columbia. A tribunal with U.S., British, and Canadian representatives finalized the border, favoring U.S. claims based on historical agreements and occupation. So I'm telling you, it ain't just a artificial line, Donald. It's there's been bloodshed over that line, and a lot of sweat and tears too, and a lot of water under the bridge, and a lot of history in the rearview mirror. So the U.S.-Canada border spans about 5,500 miles, which is about almost 8,900 kilometers, and is defined by treaties, markers, and a 20-foot wide cleared vista in some areas. And while the 49th parallel is indeed a straight artificial line in some places, it's actually quite real, and it's the result of careful negotiation to prevent conflict. Trump's comments might highlight the arbitrary appearance of a latitude-based line, but it overlooks the diplomatic and historical processes that shaped it. So keep all that in mind, folks. And all these people saying Canada is not a real country, they know not what they're talking about. Or worse, they do know what they're talking about and they seek to deceive. Well, I'm telling you, we are a very real place. Whether Donald Trump cares to acknowledge Kanakistan or not, we're sitting right up here in the Great White North. And why am I talking like this? Oh, yeah, because the Dukes of Hazzard jump is coming up later in the broadcast. So stick around because we got some yeehawing to do later on.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So of course, Trump has picked a fight with just about everybody under the sun, just about every country in the world. He's targeting everybody with tariffs. He's kind of left Russia out of the mix for the most part, but it looks like maybe tonight we're getting a little bit of a shift on that. Lindsey Graham is backing a 500% tariff sanctions bill on Russia, and it looks like Trump might even be backing that bill himself. And we have seen a bit of a shift in Trump's disposition toward Russia in the past week or so, especially after that trip to the NATO summit. So Graham says if you're buying products from Russia and you're not helping Ukraine, then there's a 500% tariff on your products coming to the United States. India and China buy 70% of Putin's oil. They keep his war machine going, he says. And for the first time yesterday, he says Trump told him it's time to move your bill. So looks like Lindsey Graham going to move forward with this bill to impose sanctions and apply economic pressure on Vladimir Putin. We'll see. We'll see. Because Trump and Putin have been pretty cozy. Just depends on how miffed, slighted Donald Trump actually feels after being miffed and slighted time after time after time. And I think even being duped by Vladimir Putin, especially on the Ukraine issue.
Now, I want to ask you about Russia because you're pushing this bill to impose severe new sanctions on Russia. Have you gotten Trump on board
Big
with
breakthrough here. So what does this bill do? If you're buying products from Russia and you're not helping Ukraine, then there's a 500% tariff on your products coming to the United States. India and China buy 70% of Putin's oil. They keep his war machine going. My bill has 84 co-sponsors. It would allow the president to put tariffs on China and India and other countries to get them, stop them from supporting Putin's war machine to get him to the table. For the first time yesterday, President told me.
You were playing golf with him.
Yeah, I was playing golf with him. He says, it's time to move your bill. There's a waiver in the bill, Mr. President. You're in charge of whether or not it's to be implemented. But we're going to give President Trump a tool in the toolbox he doesn't have today. After the July break, we're going to pass a bill that would allow the president.
He's going to sign it.
Yeah, I think we're in good shape. But he has a waiver. It's up to him how to impose it. But we're trying to get Putin to the table.
All right, but will they? We will see over time. Putin is a master at delay and doublespeak. For a guy who doesn't seem to have any so little trouble winning elections, he seems to be a very skilled politician, but not much need to campaign apparently because he's just so darn popular. Just so darn popular. All right. So I wanted to show as well, what was the, we're seeing a seismic shift in politics, I think, in this country of Canada and in the United States. Things really, really polarized in a way that really I've never seen before in my lifetime. That's why you're seeing that mayoral candidate with pretty far left socialist, I would say even communistic policies and views, grabbing that Democrat nomination to run for mayor. Now, all that being said, I wanted to show you this other story. Here it is here. This is the story. Elbows up merchandise. You know, it was all the rage there in the beginning, and now not as much. It seems the popularity of elbows up stuff is waning. Let me just, I will show you. Here's the CTV article on it. So in this case, we're talking about a lady by the name of Stephanie Tomlin. There she is posing for a picture for CTV with some of the product that she produces. She prints Canadian-themed apparel. This is in Toronto. And here it says, when Rachel Coe, this is another person, decided to launch an Elbows Up merchandise line at her store in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia in March, she said it was an immediate bestseller. Within a week, Coe said her timeless memory shop had already made 400 sales. By the end of the first month, she had sold 2,500 products ranging from t-shirts to hoodies to car decals. Demand for items bearing Canada's rallying cry against U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs and annexation threats was so high that Coe launched a website to keep up with the surge. It was a response from all over Canada. She said, we reached every single province and we started covering worldwide. Our Elbows Up merch went everywhere. Many Canadian businesses hopped on the patriotic trend. It also saw Ontario Premier Doug Ford wearing a Canada is not for sale ball cap ahead of a January meeting with Canada's premiers and prime minister. But sales started slowing down by May, and despite a slight boost ahead of Canada Day, she said the Elbows Up line is now selling at similar rates to the classic red and white merchandise she sells every year around this time. Although business owners say they are selling more Canada-themed products this year leading up to July 1st, many have also noted a decline in Elbows Up merchandise sales. So I bring this to your attention tonight because it is the Canada Day weekend. And now we have Donald Trump in a very insulting way, especially given that it is the Canada Day weekend. And it's also approaching, of course, July 4th. We're not quite there yet, but it's coming up. And we've had the big, some of the big fireworks displays over the weekend in many larger communities, including Windsor, Detroit. I think they've had their big fireworks display already this year, some days ago, as part of their Freedom Festival that they have down there on the Windsor Detroit waterfront on the Detroit River. So all that's going on. But, we'll see where all that goes. And the other reason I show you this is because I was thinking about Isabel, because, as much as this is kind of an odd thing, really, this is Elbows Up. She sells these mugs, right? She sent me this mug. Thank you, Isabel, for sending me this. She put the Maverick Multimedia logo on it. Elbows Up. A little perplexed. Maybe I shouldn't be. Those are the early days. If you recall how all of this kind of came about, it was, initially, what's his name there? The spy guy, Mike Myers. He's the guy who seemed to come up with the idea, Elbows Up. And then I think he was on Saturday Night Live and he did the Elbows Up thing. And the first person to tell me about that was John Rimby out of Alberta, Calgary. And I was like, I don't even know what the heck you're talking about. And I should have, because it's a Gordie Howe reference, the hockey player. Because when Gordie Howe, in his heyday, many, many days ago in yesteryear land of hockey, if you went into the corners, and you were near Gordie Howe, you'd probably get an elbow upside your nose or your jaw or your face in total. And you might rip your face off with his elbow because he was one tough customer. Well, that's where the Elbows Up idea came from, apparently. And it was just, I think at the time, viewed by everybody as a pro-Canada patriotic slogan that came about from Mike Myers. That was nonpartisan at the time, I think, but then it was so effective that, of course, the Liberals latched onto it. It became a campaign slogan. And Mike Myers even went so far as to appear in an online, and maybe, I don't even know if they ran it. They might have, but it certainly was online, a commercial, a promotional spot on video with Mark Carney, who is now the Prime Minister. Very effective campaign in the end. But I find it perplexing because Isabel, I guess Isabel's a liberal. I don't know. Is she? Because she's got these things up on her social media thing. I'm not trying to mark you out there, Isabel. I love my Elbows Up mug. Thank you for sending. She still got them down there. The whole selection. Because she runs that little shop, right? The gift business, Bubble Gifts. So we've talked about that before. And I don't know, maybe if we go to the phones in a little while, maybe she'll call in and talk about what she's doing with her gifts and the Elbows Up merchandise, because I'd like to hear from her to find out if interest in that stuff has dropped off and expand on the story that we have just been discussing. So we've got all that going on. And then that pivots back to, what else do we have here? The big, beautiful bill. More Trump stuff. Is there anything that doesn't involve Trump? So the entire bill was finally read out loud. The Senate voted to debate the big, beautiful bill. And it took, I think it was, don't quote me, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, I think it was 16 hours, something like that, to read this broad, sweeping bill from Donald J. Trump and his team. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. The big, beautiful bill. It's crazy. Let's bring up this clip from Fox News. They talk about the reading of this bill, and I don't think the politicians, even very few of them, even stuck around to listen to the bill being.
Meanwhile, Democrats continue to be the party of chaos. Nearly 200 House Democrats have refused to condemn the violent anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles. And it looks like the left, they'll do anything to obstruct ICE. Cynthia Gonzalez, the vice mayor of Cudahy in Los Angeles County, is now urging gang members to defend their streets from ICE agents.
I want to know where all the cholos are at in Los Angeles. 18th Street, Florencia. Where's the leadership at? Because you guys are all about territory, and this is 18th Street, and this is Florencia. You guys tag everything up, claiming hood. And now that your hood's being invaded by the biggest gang there is, there ain't a peep out of you. So whoever's the leadership over there, just get your members in order.
This is so dangerous. Gonzalez took the post down and denies she was calling for violence. Yeah, right. But she is being investigated by the FBI. The gangbangers she was referencing, 18th Street, are some of the worst criminals in the United States of America.
One of the largest and most cutthroat gangs in the world, close to 100,000 strong. Murder, gang pride, and mayhem. 18th Street captures everything on camera. In LA alone, they claim 20,000 members and counting.
Besides regular gangbanging, they're involved in kidnapping, extortion, robberies, drug dealing. Everything is based on violence.
The other gang she mentioned, Florencia 13, killed police officer Fernando Arroyos in 2022. Florencia 13 also has a long history of violence.
The defendants murdered Arroyos in furtherance of the criminal enterprise, namely the Florencia 13 gang.
We have a criminal street gang. It's been multi-generational. It's plagued that community. It's plagued the Newton area for decades.
Molly, what do you see these gangbangers out there, and then you see a city official coming out and saying, defend your streets, get out there, and essentially she's saying, fight ICE. Now, she denies that she's calling for violence, but how else do you defend the streets from ICE?
Yeah, it has absolutely flipped on its head who the good guys are, who the bad guys are. It's really a remarkable statement. But it also goes in with something we've seen among public officials in other cities across the country, the villainization of our public entities that are there to protect us, the villainization of ICE, referring to them as terrorists or tying them to neo-Nazi organizations. She used the word the biggest gang there is when referring to ICE. So that's one of the great concerns, that it endangers the lives of our ICE officers who are out there fighting to take people into custody that shouldn't be here at all, that are members of these types of gangs that are causing the chaos.
David?
Look, there's a dark underbelly that I think is worth investigating, and she's the latest example. This played out in Baltimore with Stephanie Rawlins Blake, then investigating potential gang, not affiliations, but a cozy relationship with the gangs. And she should be investigated to see if she has any past relationships. Something that people don't realize about this, especially with the Latin gangs writ large, but with all gangs. In the Latin world, it's the abuelas. It's the people who are actually the senior members of the gang. It's not just about the guys with the tattoos out on the street. And the fact that this does exist with officials. So I think that should be a part of this investigation. Does she have an actual working relationship or some kind of cozy relationship with gangs? Because it's not unheard of. It's been investigated and there have been prosecutions.
Yeah, there need to be prosecutions.
I mean, it's remarkable to me. Calling ICE the biggest gang there is, that alone is inciting violence. And then telling these violent gangs to get their members in order, this is the most dangerous rhetoric. ICE is there to, it's remarkable to me that she's a elected official. She's supposed to be protecting the people in her area. And instead she's telling the most dangerous criminals to go out and wreak havoc. I'm alarmed that someone who's in a public office can do this. I'm glad she's being investigated. Maybe you said she's very comfortable calling out a gang. I would never mutter the name of a gang and tell them what to do, because I would not want anyone coming after me. Why does she feel entitled to do that? I'm glad the FBI is investigating, because calling ICE the biggest gang there is and telling gang members to go after them, pretty clear there's violence.
Look, our country has been under siege, and Los Angeles has been the epicenter of so much of that.
It's the strangest of times. Trump, MAGA, people, a lot of people around MAGA, around Trump, a lot of, key supporters saying that the Trump administration, the United States, is basically, in many respects, at war with itself. Literally. Talking about going to war in American cities. It's like it is a form of civil war in a way. I mean, it hasn't erupted into full-scale warfare on the streets, but in many respects, that is the kind of rhetoric I've been hearing, especially, from both sides, really. I pray that we don't get to that fever pitch where we see, really widespread violence. And yet we have seen politicians literally assassinated. And it has all been taken by the public and the media and the political class in stride, almost as though it's normalized somehow, yet it's not normal at all. But it received a little bit of attention, in the first day or two, and it has just faded away. A lot of this, of course, immigration issue, that's the thing that's really fueling emotions and getting people jacked up. And we're seeing it in Canada as well. It's, I would argue, fueling a rise in outright, straight up bigotry, prejudice, and racism. And it's hard to argue against that. It's on full display on many social media platforms. And then there are just people who are just concerned about the outright numbers and the stress that Canada's immigration levels is placing on social services, on social assistance programs, on hospitals, on the education system, on housing, of course. And, in Quebec, they have a greater degree of control because of their distinct society status and, all the whining they do, frankly, and have done over many, 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 many years. Well, it's really since Confederation and even before. They have greater control over how immigration is handled within their province. And today, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith saying that Alberta wants similar kinds of checks and balances in place. They want that kind of control out in Alberta as well. Not because they want to preserve any kind of culture. That's not really the issue for her. For her, it is more about economic considerations. They want to bring in only immigrants, basically, who meet a certain set of criteria based on how much they can contribute to the Alberta economy.
We're asking if we should take control over our immigration, much like Quebec. Quebec wants to be able to choose all of the migrants that come into their province on the basis of being able to support culture and language. Well, we want to be able to choose all of the migrants coming into Alberta on the basis of what best supports our economy and making sure that they've got the supports around them so that they can integrate. So those are the things that we'll be seeking advice in this next 6-month panel discussion, and I hope you take part and give us some of your thoughts on it. We're asking.
And that was Smith on her radio program this weekend, this Canada Day weekend. Let's pivot over now to the U.S. side again, though, over into New Yorkistan. Everything's an istan when it comes right down to it. And New York could become more of a stan, especially if Zoran Mamdani is successful and becomes the next mayor of the Big Apple. He is, without question, very socialistic, very left-wing, talks about free public transit, like free bus rides, no fees, and even goes so far as to, has been suggesting that government-run or municipal-run or community-run grocery stores be set up that are not profit-driven. Now, would that result in lower prices for consumers in the end? I'm pretty much a free market guy. I believe competition drives prices down, but Mr. Mamdani has different views on that. And where's his? Let me see here. Did I lose my tab? Oh, we got that one there. So yeah, he says, it's the right one. So he's saying that grocery stores should be not for profit. And he's also saying that today, he's saying that there shouldn't be billionaires. And that's an interesting point of view. I'm of the opinion that billionaires are okay. Maybe not too many of them, but I don't know that you're regulated. I'm not even sure people would be. I'm pretty sure people would probably be less well off if there were fewer billionaires in the world. I could get into the economic theory behind my statement on that, but let's let Mr. Mamdani state his case through this news story on NBC.
Democratic Socialist and New York State Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani is poised to win the Democratic primary for New York City, beating out former Governor Andrew Cuomo. He's now set to head to the general election, but his likely primary win is already sending shockwaves through the Democratic Party. And joining me now is Zoran Mamdani. Mr. Mamdani, welcome to Meet the Press.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. There is so much to discuss. We have to start with your remarkable victory in the primary for mayor. You're 33 years old. As I just said, you started out at close to 0% in the polls, Mr. Mamdani. You came back to topple one of the biggest names in New York politics, Andrew Cuomo. What was the secret to your success? Do you think it was your message? Do you think that voters were voting against Andrew Cuomo? A little bit of both? How do you see it?
I think ultimately it was the focus on the fact that we live in the most expensive city in the United States of America. It's also the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, and yet 1 in 4 New Yorkers are living in poverty, and the rest are seemingly trapped in a state of anxiety. And what we've seen is that this is a city that needs to be affordable for the people who build it every day. Our focus was on exactly that. And by keeping that focus on an economic agenda, we showed New Yorkers that this could be more than just a museum of what once was. It could be a living, breathing testament to possibility.
Well, let me ask you about what I was just discussing with Senator Chris Murphy. The fact that you have leaders Schumer, leaders Hakeem Jeffrey, who wrote very nice things about your victory, said you'd won a very strong campaign, have not endorsed you. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has endorsed you. Do you think the Democratic establishment is afraid of you?
I think that people are catching up to this election. This is an election that went against so much of the analysis that had been told about our party and where we needed to head to. And ultimately, what we're showing is that by putting working people first, by returning to the roots of the Democratic Party, we actually have a path out of this moment where we're facing authoritarianism in Washington, D.C.
Well, let's talk about your policies, your vision for this city. Here are some of the things you've proposed: free buses, rent-stabilized housing, a $30 minimum wage, the creation of city-owned grocery stores. It's a very long list of proposals. So let me ask you, if you were to be elected the next mayor of New York, what would your day one priority be?
The first thing is living up to these promises that I've made, because I've made them because I intend to keep them. And in a city of about 8.5 million people, close to 2.5 million New Yorkers live in rent-stabilized housing. The mayor, through a board called the Rent Guidelines Board, sets whether or not those rents increase or stay the same. The previous mayoral administration froze the rent 3 times. This one, led by Mayor Adams, increased it by 9%. So the first thing that I would do is start to constitute a board that votes in reflection of reality. And the reality I'm speaking of is that the median household income of those tenants is $60,000 a year. The landlords of those units have seen their profits increase by 12%. It's time for relief for working class New Yorkers.
Okay, well, of course, the big question is how are you going to pay for it? You've proposed increasing taxes on wealthier New Yorkers. The Democratic governor, though, of your state, Kathy Hochul, says she's not going to support increasing taxes in order to get it across the finish line. I want to let you take a listen to a little bit of what she had to say recently and respond on the other side. Here she is.
I'm not raising taxes on people at a time when affordability is the big issue. I'm actually cutting middle class taxes. Even on the wealthy. I don't want to lose any more people to go to Palm Beach. We've lost enough.
How are you going to raise taxes if you can't get Democrats to support it?
So I think what we've shown over the last 8 months is our ability to take that which is considered a non-starter and make it seem inevitable. We've shown that with this campaign. And ultimately, we're seeing that our vision to tax the top 1% of New Yorkers, these are New Yorkers who make $1 million a year or more, and our proposal is to just tax them by 2% additional, is something that has broad support and will continue to increase that support over the next few months and years.
So you think you're going to be able to twist Governor Hochul's arm and get her to support raising taxes? I mean, what about the fact that she says she's concerned New Yorkers might leave? They might go to Florida.
I think it's time for a leadership that doesn't twist arms, but rather builds partnership. And I'm looking forward to having that with the governor, because ultimately my policies, my vision, it's driven by an assessment of what's actually happening. The Fiscal Policy Institute found that the top 1% of New Yorkers leave at 1/4 the rate of other income groups. And when they do leave, it's actually to other states considered high tax, New Jersey, California. So it's not fiscal policy, it's quality of life. And ultimately, the reason I want to increase these taxes on the top 1%, the most profitable corporations, is to increase quality of life for everyone, including those who are going to be taxed.
Here's how the Washington Post editorial board wrote about your proposals. They say a massive minimum wage would depress low-skilled employment. His rent freeze would reduce the housing supply and decrease its quality. Yeah. Cutting bus fares would leave a transit funding hole that, unless somehow filled, would erode service. Meanwhile, the grocery business operates on thin margins, and his plan for city-run stores would probably lead to fewer options, poor service, and shortages. Mr. Mamdani, are your proposals going to hurt the very people you're trying to help?
Not at all. There have been many in editorial board who have had concerns, and what we've shown is that more than 400,000 New Yorkers are excited about this vision. And the reason they're excited about it is one that is in line with the scale of the crisis in this city. I mean, we are talking about our tax base growing smaller and smaller each day, with New Yorkers leaving to New Jersey, to Pennsylvania, to Connecticut. If we do not meet this moment, we will lose this city. And our proposals are ones that are thought out. They are ones that are also clearly going to be funded by these revenue streams. I'll give you an example. When we talk about grocery stores, I've put forward a proposal for a pilot of one grocery store in each borough. These are 5 grocery stores that would cost $60 million in a city budget of more than $113 billion. And ultimately, the reason that we are so excited by them is we've seen that they've worked in Kansas. We've seen that when a feasibility study was done in Chicago, it was shown to be something that was not only feasible, but pressing and urgent in an urban setting. And finally, it costs less than half of what the city's already set to spend on subsidizing corporate supermarkets without any guarantee of cheaper prices, any guarantee of collective bargaining agreements, or that they accept SNAP or WIC.
Well, you take me to my next question about grocery stores. Some executives, including one of the top grocery stores owners, billionaires, threatening to shut down his supermarket in the city. John Castamatidis, who runs Gristedes grocery chain. You're probably very familiar with him. He said this on Election Day, quote, "If the city of New York is going socialist, I will definitely close or sell or move or franchise the Gristedes locations." In order to run New York City successfully as mayor, do you not need the support of a billionaire businessman like John Catsimatidis?
I don't know if I need his support specifically, but I want to make clear that my vision for this city is a vision for every single New Yorker, including business leaders across the city. And the reason I say that is that my proposals, even the ones to increase the top corporate tax rate of New York to match that of New Jersey, are ones that would also benefit those business leaders. Because when I have conversations with them, what I also hear is the just how expensive this city is preventing them from attracting and retaining the talent they need to grow their business. And ultimately, I'm looking forward to having those meetings, having those sit downs to make clear why this vision would benefit all.
We went on your website.
Okay. He's really, really good. He's smooth. He's a smooth operator. Yeah, he's a very good politician. Very eloquent. A great orator. Yeah, I think he's going places. He's got momentum behind him. Growing support came out of nowhere and could end up being the next mayor of New York City, the Big Apple. Wow. And John Catsimatidis, that's that big billionaire who also owns WABC Radio, who has weighed in heavily on that ostrich issue, which I can't get away from, out in Edgewood, BC. The biolab, the bio birds, the open air biolab, and the bird flu and the COVID antigens being injected into those feathered flightless wonders. But I'm not talking anymore about it tonight if I can help it. Mr. Catsimatidis not quite getting his facts straight on that story either. I've been tuning in a little bit from time to time to see what he's been saying about it, along with his guests. But the presence there of Mamdani, that shows that we are in the midst of a seismic shift politically in both Canada and the United States. And why is that? Well, it is because of the rise of populism, and people are not happy at all with government. They're voted against Biden as much as they voted for Trump, and the immigration issue is one thing that a lot of people very, very upset about it. Let's take a little break here. We're going to come back on the other side. Our coverage shall continue.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so the big Pride Parade was this weekend in Toronto. And I know that in a lot of places, I think even including New York, Pride parades have been under increasing pressure, losing sponsorship as the politics shifts, as I've talked about. I know that I think it was in New York where they lost. They've been losing money. Here it is here. Yeah, New York City Pride Parade. So a drop in corporate sponsorships. Bring this up so you can see the headline. There we go. 2025 NYC Pride Parade sees a noticeable drop in corporate sponsorship and amid DEI backlash. An NBC News report found that organizers of several of the country's premier Pride celebrations lost an estimated $200,000 to $350,000 apiece in funding from corporate sponsors this year. The parade in New York celebrated its 55th anniversary this year. The official theme, Rise Up, Pride and Protest. It was selected to honor the legacy of the first Pride March in 1970, the year after the Stonewall Inn riots, according to the event organizers. The theme also reflected the mixed perception of nationwide rollbacks of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. No question about it. The Trump administration has been in purge mode when it comes to this stuff. Purging government of DEI. So here's a quote, says, quote, "We've experienced maybe a dip in about $750,000 in sponsorship, but we've actually raised $110,000 in just the last couple of days from 250 unique sponsors," says Kaz Alexander, co-chair of New York City Pride. And goes on to say, so that demonstrates how much people are willing to commit to this cause and how much we're all coming together. And of course, in Toronto, a similar kind of story where we see that the colors of the rainbow were on full display. And there were tens of thousands of people out, I guess, for this parade in Toronto. Let me just see if I can get you some footage. I'll bring this up on the screen first of all, so you can see this aerial shot just attached to this online news story, but it'll give you an aerial establishing angle. There you go. That's from CP24. Yeah, let's see if we have some footage over here from Toronto. Okay, we have some photos. I will try to avoid any nudity, as I know there has been some of that going on. Here we go. And while it may be present on city streets, I'm not inclined to show it here. And there you go, more shots. Everybody has their clothes on. And I can't say I've never been to that parade. So I don't know exactly what it's like, other than what I've seen on video, of course. So this gives you an idea. Smiling faces all over the places in the big smoke. And yeah, I'd say the Liberal government, Liberal Party. Oh, there's Chrystia Freeland. Did that trigger some people? That's all it takes.
They're messaging about what's going on over in Gaza.
Yes, and we've been told that it will take place for about a few minutes, 5 minutes or so, and then they will continue to walk. So we are here standing by. As you can see, lots more of marchers right behind them. 25,000 marchers in total.
Yeah, it's an incredible parade, incredible opportunity to get this messaging across to millions of viewers. But we are going to continue continue to stick with us and send it to break. We'll be back with more from the parade, Toronto Pride 2025.
Yeah, live coverage on TV of this parade. And I still don't get the Palestinian protests being associated with this stuff. I don't get it, but hey, whatever you like, whatever you're into, it's whatever. It's whatever. You know, it strikes me as odd too that Trump has the Village People and YMCA, which is like a gay anthem. And I wouldn't say that the MAGA movement fully embraces the LGBTQS plus or whatever community. I don't think that that's true. And you got the gay anthem with the Village People, and oh no, it's not a gay anthem. Yes, it is. It is. And it would fit right in with the Pride celebration. I don't know why Trump's not down there. Why aren't all the MAGA people hanging out? Like, they'd fit right in. Actually, I'm telling you, some of these people that need to get at the smelling salts when they faint just looking at the parade, secretly, they actually want to be there and maybe actually sneak on down and participate when you ain't looking. I'm telling you, it's true. I know for a fact because I know some people like that. I won't name names tonight, but it's true. There's Christopher Freeland again. Did that trigger you? And I guess the CN Tower was all lit up, all purdy like. There you go. For the Pride Festival. And it's appropriate to light it up too because it's Canada Day weekend and fireworks are happening this weekend. Maybe not. You'll see some tonight all over the place, and you'll see more tomorrow, and then you'll see a whole bunch on Tuesday as Canadians show their pride in the country that Donald Trump says doesn't really exist. And this guy here, Josh Ross, performing in the US of A. I don't know, is he a traitor for having moved to the USA from Kazakhstan? Well, he was at this concert and he had this to say about his decision to relocate to the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Quick, I'm Canadian. You want to know the best fun fact? Is I moved to the best fucking country in the world and I love it.
Yeah, well, better be careful. Somebody might show up and say, hey, you Kazakhstanian, get on that plane. It's off to the El Salvador gulag with you, boy. Yeah, 55 Canadians at last count in ICE custody. One person has died. Let's not lose sight of the reality of that. We need to get to the bottom of that in a serious way. Very real thing too. As much as I'm poking fun at some things here tonight, it's a very real thing. What else did I want to show you here with regard to all of that? Oh yeah, it was Trump, of course. Who else? Going down to visit Alligator Alcatraz. He's going to go down there and pay the place a visit. Look at this. That new detention facility where they've got alligator infested waters all around there. detention facility set up in the Everglades in a no longer used airstrip. And if you don't get et by the gators, then the pythons and the other critters in the swamp might just eat you alive too. There is no escape from alligator Alcatraz. It's like something out of a movie, because I think that's what Trump looks for when he does a lot of these things and brings a lot of these policies and just actions forward. He is literally tapping into central casting and giving us the next chapter in a very engaging cinematic script. President Donald Trump, it says here, is expected to be at the formal opening Tuesday of a controversial immigration detention center in the Florida Everglades that state leaders have dubbed Alligator Alcatraz. The Palm Beach Post reported today that Federal Aviation Administration data indicated that Trump would be in South Florida for the opening. 2 White House officials and a Florida official familiar with the travel confirmed to NBC that Trump is likely, in quotation marks, to be there. So as I say, it's on that airstrip in Miami-Dade County. Governor DeSantis, his administration seized using emergency powers to build a housing facility for undocumented migrants. I showed you the pictures the other night. Basically, they're like those trailers divided into units. You know, the kind of trailers you get like at construction sites and industrial situations. And hang on a sec here. Somebody's... Oh, that's friendly. That's very friendly. The site is more than 96% wetlands, surrounded by Big Cypress National Preserve and is habitat for the endangered Florida panther and other iconic species. So the Trumpster going on down there to check the place out on Tuesday and cut the ribbon. My God, the grand opening. The grand opening. Indeed, indeed. Well, confusing messages came in there on my phone. Very odd. Maybe I don't know what to do with that. Let me take a little break while I digest what just appeared before my amazed eyes. And we'll come back on the other side and continue.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Now don't forget, we have that big Dukes of Hazzard General Lee jump coming up at the end of the program. So you're not going to want to miss that. The General Lee, you know, that Dodge Charger from that 1970s, early 1980s TV series. And then we've got the interview with Ben Cooter Jones from the TV series coming up too, talking about the series and the flag on the top of that General Lee and the controversy about all of that. So that all ties into that whole issue of immigration, racism, all of that stuff. So, and political correctness and DEI, it's all related. And I think a lot of the people associated with the TV show wish that wasn't the case, but it is. And we'll get into that issue as the show continues. But right now, I think it's appropriate and time to go to the phones. Here's the number to call. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Okay. And talking about oil industry a little bit tonight, and talking about even maybe electric cars as well. Let's see if we've got any callers on the line. Yeah, no, we do not. I'll put the number up on the bottom of the screen. Since we've been talking about energy and oil, maybe John would like to call in from out in Alberta, our oil expert, big oil man, with his freehold lease claim. Maybe he'd like to talk about that. Here we go. And you can join the conversation by calling in tonight at 1-647-734-4220. And you can punch in that PIN number too at 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. If you are inclined to join the conversation tonight, that's the number to phone. So I'll just leave that up on the screen, and the callers may begin to trickle in. So what else we got going on here tonight? Let me just check in on that story about the firefighters being ambushed out in Idaho. Looks like we've got a little bit of an update here. 2 people are dead after firefighters were ambushed. So now we know 2 people have passed away, having been shot by a gunman or multiple gunmen, possibly, while responding to a brush fire in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, according to officials. Kootenai County Sheriff Robert Norris just held a news conference and says that a number of others injured in the attack and the ongoing fire is unknown. We know that we have these 2 fatalities, and they are believed to be firefighters in Idaho. So let me take a little break here. Let me just, yes. Okay, I need to pause that audio in my head there. Let me flip out of this for a second, and I'm going to see if I can get that news conference for you. Get a clip from the sheriff on this story out of Idaho. Stay with me. Breaking news unfolding on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I almost have the video for you. Just give me one more moment here. Let me run this.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Yeah, I've got something here, so almost got it queued for you. Hang on. Yes. Yep. Okay, here we go. I've got it for you. Okay, and
everybody okay? Can you hear me okay?
All right.
Okay, my name is Robert Norris. I am the Sheriff of Kootenai County. This information is very preliminary and is subject to change. We want to give you and the public as much information as quickly as possible. So at approximately 1:21 p.m. this afternoon, we received reports of a fire on the east side of Canfield Mountain. Fire assets responded to the scene, and at approximately 2 p.m. this afternoon, it was reported that firefighters were receiving shots fired at them. We now have 2 deaths. We have an unknown amount of casualties. We still have civilians that are coming off of that mountain. We might have civilians that are stuck or in shock on that mountain. So this is a very, very fresh situation. We are actively taking sniper fire as we speak. This is an active situation. We have multiple agencies that are on scene from local and federal authorities. And we are prepared to neutralize this suspect who is currently actively shooting at public safety personnel. We are prepared to neutralize this suspect as quickly as possible. And that's really all that we know as of right now. We don't know who the suspects are. We don't know how many there are. So I know that it's very, very, very early, and I don't think that any questions would yield anything. But Chief, do you have anything? Was I accurate in what we were reporting?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll take a couple of questions, but I'd like to remind you that's very, very preliminary, and I'm not so sure we're going to have any additional information.
Hunter Richard KXOY, the 2 deaths, are they fighter personnel that have died?
We know that there's 2 deaths, and we believe that they are, yes.
Have they been taken off of the mountain?
Yeah, no, we're still in that process.
Ian Brown, Crime 2. You mentioned that there were multiple people that have been shot. Do you have an exact number at
No.
the moment?
Nope.
Okay.
We do not.
Alex Levin, the spokesman. How are you going about evacuating people from the mountain or getting personnel out of there who are being shot at? I mean, what does that process look like?
Right now, we're developing a plan to be able to suppress these individuals' firefighting capability. And when we get that under control, when we have an opportunity to suppress that, then we will continue our removing of people who are on the mountain, who are on for a hike, or public safety personnel, or people who live on the backside of the mountain.
Do we
Yes.
have any indication of what type of firearms are being used in this from the suspect?
Well, it appears that modern-day sporting rifles are being used. It appears that high-powered rifles are being used. Yes.
How many acres is this fire?
I don't know.
Started out as a half acre.
Do we know about how many minutes after shots were fired when fire crews arrived?
Well, we got the first call at 1:21, and we have reports that they were taking shots at about 2 o'clock. I don't know what time they arrived on scene. I don't know what time the firefighters arrived on scene, but we can get you that information at the next briefing if you'd like.
How many engines were on scene when shots were fired? Do you know that? 3? We wait 3.
And just to be clear, the people who responded, they were wildland firefighters or they were local firefighters fighting a wildland firefighter?
City of Coeur d'Alene and Cooney Fire Rescue.
Yes,
When
sir.
the shots were fired, were they at an accelerated rate or was it a single shot?
Oh no, we're taking rapid fire up there. In the back.
You keep referring to individuals. Are you referring to casualties or like the amount of suspects you believe to be?
Well, we don't know how many suspects are up there, and we don't know how many casualties that there are. Yeah, I suspect we'll have people coming forward that maybe are stuck up there that drove themselves to the hospital, but I suspect that would likely be the case.
Do we have confirmation that there are people stuck up there?
People are still coming off the mountain, so it would only be safe to assume that the mountain is not clear.
As of right now, is there an active threat to the
Absolutely, absolutely there is.
Has
Yeah.
there been a shelter-in-place order put forth?
Yes, there has, and I would encourage all of you to tell people to stay away from the area. Do not come to the area. Stay away from the area. This is going to be, if these individuals are not neutralized quickly, this is going to be likely a multi-day operation.
Here's a question. So is the suspect in a home up there? Are they? Do we have an indication of where they might be on the mountain?
Yeah, we don't believe that they're in a home up there at this time.
So they're just kind of out in the open firing?
Well, they're heavy brush, well prepared. So yeah, they're blending in with their surroundings.
Sheriff Norris?
Go ahead.
Did you mention that the person that called it in is most likely the shooter?
No. No, we didn't say that. We said the first call was at 1:21 on a fire, receiving our radio that the firefighters.
Like this before, and if so, do you think you and other
You know, we have seen some of these things in a urban environment where firefighters were in a urban setting, putting out firefighters during civil disobedience, getting shot at. I've seen that. I can't say that I've seen it in a rural setting myself, but I have seen it in an urban setting frequently where firefighters do get shot at in, civil unrest, yes.
So do we know if there's one or two shooters?
We don't know if there's 1, 2, 3, or 4. Yeah, we don't know.
So just for the fire itself, firefighting efforts, is it contained? Is it still spreading? What does that look like?
Well, it's gonna keep burning because we can't put a lot of resources on there right now. But Chief,
No, we won't put any resources
Yeah.
out there until the threat is neutralized.
Do we have like a risk of wildfire? Say, is it high winds? Is that going to fuel the fire or anything? Or is it?
We're at a high state right now in wildland, so it'll calm down as the evening progresses, but then it'll pick back up tomorrow.
Thank you.
And hopefully this is neutralized by then.
Thank you.
Sheriff Norris, how are you feeling about this overall from when you first got the call to just now from what you learned?
You know what? It's going to be the tough next couple hours. Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping that somebody has a clear shot and is able to neutralize, because they are not, at this point in time, showing any evidence of wanting to surrender. So as soon as somebody has a clear shot, I encourage them to take that shot and neutralize the threat.
I've seen several life flight helicopters coming in and out. Are there any other air resources that are being used at the moment?
Oh yeah, we have our Emergency Operations Bureau that is containing assets, and whenever a situation goes beyond the local resources, which this has, like I said, we have other counties that are here, we have federal authorities that are here, and we will neutralize this threat. So.
Sorry, I know we touched on this with the suspects. You know, we know there is at least one, but you said possibly others. Is it coming from multiple different locations that bullets are coming from? That might indicate that
yes. Oh yeah. Yep. Yep.
So it's coming from not just one.
Yeah, it's what the officers and deputies are reporting up on the mountain right now. So.
Have any officers been hit?
As of right now, we don't have any officers that have been hit. Okay.
Can you just confirm, list all the law enforcement authorities that are here on scene?
Well, I have not gotten a list yet, but however, if, I mean, pretty much everybody that's in this region, we have some Spokane resources that are here. We have Marshal's office that is on scene, Bonner County Sheriff's here, Coeur d'Alene Police, of course, is here, Idaho State Police, but we have a multitude of resources right now. So, okay, what we'll do is Lieutenant Mark Ellis is going to be one of our press relations here, and we'll determine what time we'll do another press conference, or if the next one will just be a press release. So I'm thinking it'll probably be a press conference, and it'll probably be somewhere in the next 3 or 4 hours, unless something significant happens before then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
For someone who was, thinking and considering a switch over to tax cycle,
we'll
I would
see
say
where that
pop
all
into my
goes.
office for 5 minutes, and I will show you how to do a return.
Checking
and
out
once you
something
see that,
here.
that will be all the proof that you need.
The one thing that I love about Tax Cycle is the support that you get from the company and the support they provide for the user community. So if you ever have...
Take that down. Okay. Sorry about the commercial there. Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to take a little break. And we can see here.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So it's very interesting, the stuff that comes over my phone. I don't know if I should share it with you or not. I'll think about it. Dragon, you don't want to call in tonight. You're the one who gave us the information on the situation in Idaho. You're the guy who tipped me off. I'd welcome your support, sir. If you want to phone in, you've got the number on the bottom of the screen. 1-647-734-4220. Hit the pound sign after you punch in that PIN number, 860-075-764. And if anybody'd like to join the conversation, that's the number to call. Now, I was also talking about this Dukes of Hazzard jump. I was saving this for the end of the show tonight. So we're going to get to that. But I was kind of expecting maybe a couple of people to call in. I don't know. We'll see. Somebody's on the line. Let's see who we got. And who's there? Oh, we've got a couple of people. Who's on the line with us now? Dragon. Hello. Hello. Thanks for calling in. Let me get you up on the screen here, sir. One moment. Just going to bring this down here and get things configured. Okay. And you are on the air. So we've got Dragon. Who else?
Hello, Maverick. It's a good old Dragon, as always.
Yes, and there's somebody else too.
It's Isabel.
Isabel, how are you tonight?
Oh, not too bad.
Well, that's
feeling
good.
bad for those people. My God.
Yes, well, it is terrible, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So that's a developing situation. And Dragon, thank you for alerting us to that tonight off the top of the broadcast. I was not aware, so I appreciate that very much. Because of you, we've been providing some coverage on that, and I think you've been following along as well. Is there any information you have that I'm not sharing with people so far? What do you know about this situation in Idaho?
Well, right now, there's not really much development. What you just showed was probably 20 minutes ago. So now they're still looking for the guy, but they haven't found him yet. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and they're fearing probably multiple perpetrator. So we'll see about that.
Well,
but yeah, it's still ongoing. And yeah. And so basically what happened, a few minutes before you came on air, I was looking at YouTube, and I've seen actually that live coverage that was happening probably a few minutes ago before you come on. So it was brand new live ongoing. So I took the privilege to give you an email just to make sure that you're aware of the situation if you were not. So.
And we have somebody else just joined us as well. Who's there?
Hi, this is Brian Howell. Hi, Rick.
Hey, Brian, how are you tonight, my friend?
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. That's a pretty horrifying incident there in Idaho.
Sure is, yeah. Yeah, it's going to continue to unfold, and I don't know how many people we're going to end up with, who have passed away out there, but it's an unusual situation. What's the motive behind this too? It's like, and was there just one shooter or multiple? So much we don't know about what's happening.
Way up there in northern Idaho, up in the high country, probably close to Ruby Ridge. You never know.
Yeah, very odd, eh? Very odd.
It's a form of terrorism, I guess.
Who knows?
That's what I was thinking.
Who knows? Who knows? Somebody else joined us too. Another caller. Who's there? Go ahead.
Hi, it's Sharon calling from Manitoba.
Hey, Sharon. Thanks for calling in.
Hi, Rick.
I'm glad you called in tonight.
Hi, Isabel. Hi, Dragon.
Hi, Sharon.
And the
Hi,
other
Dragon.
person.
Hello.
Hi. And the other person, I don't recall the name. Sorry.
Brian.
Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hi, how are you?
From Kingston.
I'm well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what's on your mind tonight, Sharon? What do you want to focus on?
Oh man. Well, as far as there's tragedy all the time, it seems like now. But with what Trump is doing lately, I think his heart is in the right place, Rick. I honestly do, but I think his way of going about it is right in your face, or it's just something we're not used to seeing politicians do. I think that whatever his goal is or what he's working toward, he may not be outwardly, publicly stating, but through, as you've stated before, kind of a bombastic, everywhere type of actions he's taking, it's really throwing the whole world off keel. I don't know if he wants the whole world off keel to see how the world will respond, but he's definitely shaking things up. Toward what end? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think I know why. I've shared it on the program before, but it's complex, and it
is.
Yeah. And people don't understand really complex things in a 5-second or 15-second soundbite society.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like it certainly conjures up. Well, not conjures. It creates a lot of emotion. It creates a lot of chaos, turmoil. It seems that the powers that be, and I have no idea who they are, seems to revel in it. And yet all of us just want peace. All of us just want to have a few weeks of normal, in the sense of, let's slow it down. Let's not have crisis from one day to the next. The news, mainstream news, and even like you said before, Rick, the new world, or the new media news seems to like to generate controversy, crisis, passion. So I think the best thing to do, and I think you said this before and it really helped me, just touch a tree and walk barefoot on the grass.
Yep. That's what it takes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this is why I'm actually thinking that we are entering into a total new beast of science politic right now. And I would call that probably something along the way of infocracy. Because if you look at what's going on in the US with Trump, okay, and I'm going to give you an example, okay? You see Trump going around with the African leader that was there, right? And was talking about the free apartheid and whatnot, okay? And say, well, I've seen that on TikTok. I got the proof here. Well, okay, TikTok is not, a newsworthy kind of way to look at stuff, or, it's like you're propagating basically the social media and a form of technocracy, basically. So I'm asking myself if that would be a good way to explain what's going on, and people are just gobbling on what's going on social media and whatnot. So it's all revolving around the same pattern.
But I think the confusion that Trump is causing, and it is done deliberate, we're being bombarded by confusion every day.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not focusing on what's going on behind. That's what I see. It's like the smoke and mirrors behind the curtain. We'll keep this going and keep that going, and I'll throw something in every day, which is going to keep people so confused, but I'll look like the savior.
Well, it revolves around the same example that Rick gave us like 2 days ago about the Russian, when they were just being lied to, and they were just, okay, that's it. I know I'm being lied to, at least. Yeah, well, at the end of the day, you just live in the lie.
Yep. And they want to keep us in total confusion. This is the whole thing.
To a certain
Like every day.
degree, yeah.
Yeah, every day it's something new. You wake up and think today's going to be better, and then you're bombarded by something else, like
I
what's
think for
going
me,
on
it's a-
right now.
I think for me, Isabel, I think for me, Isabel, the steady anchor for me is just, for me and my family is going to church on Sunday, remembering that there's a force or being much greater than myself.
A higher
And we
power.
all have, yes, and we all have a purpose, and to focus on not just living in this world, but afterward too. So I think that
Having
kind
a
of, for me,
grounding, having a
Exactly.
grounding and a basis
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
start from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, Rick will tell. That's why I have my craft room, because if I didn't have my craft room, I would go berserk because I'm by myself. You know, I can go in there and create some crazy shit to keep myself grounded.
So Isabel, earlier in the
Yeah.
broadcast, I'm glad you called in because I wanted to ask you about this. This story tonight about people in the same kind of business you're in, selling T-shirts, mugs, those kinds of products, and the whole elbows up thing, I guess, is sort of waning. So that was the CTV story that I showed everybody earlier tonight.
Right.
I think I have your product up here. I did earlier. Where did it go? I'll find it again. So what's going on with you and all of that stuff?
Oh, elbows up is elbows flushed. What I have reverted to is swiping all those glasses, which means removing everything, redoing it, but I do it for lest we forget, with the soldier standing at the tomb. So the soldier's on one side, lest we forget on the other side.
That's
And
great, yeah.
the True North, strong and free.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
I am
Very
Canadian.
good. Yes.
That's what I'm doing on the glasses now, because elbows up went elbows down. It should be elbows up or elbows down, butt up.
What do you mean by that?
Kiss it.
Well, we're not
for
looking for a
Trump.
fight. We're not looking for a fight.
No, I'm just telling
know.
Trump to kiss it.
And just
Like
back
I've had
away.
enough-
Just back off. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had enough of his rhetoric.
Yeah.
I really
just stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
there they are on the screen.
yeah, that's your stuff there. Yeah. So let me
I
ask you
don't have the
something.
freaking-
What was it that why, like, the first person to tell me about elbows up was John out in Alberta, and then you did this, and then it really kind of became part of the whole election thing. So just tell me, what was your mindset when you decided to start producing these mugs? You sent me one at the time, right here. So why did you decide to try to start to sell them?
Because I'm a feisty nature, I'm verbally ready to fight against Trump. Not physically, but verbally to stand up.
If you got in the ring with Donald Trump, I would pay to see it.
I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm
Let's
sure.
organize
So my
a charity wresting match. You and the orange orangutan.
Well, my elbows would reach Sorrow's rocket. You know what I'm saying?
Jeff
So I
Bezos' flying dildo. It would.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Well.
my goodness. Yeah.
Goodness,
I
I would pay.
When Mike Myers said that, I mean,
Yeah.
I love Mike Myers.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I thought, yeah, that's Canadian. And then I remembered when I would watch the hockey with my dad and the gloves would come off. I'm like, oh, here we go.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't like hockey, but I sure liked it when they, dropped the gloves.
Well, I found the whole thing. It was interesting to follow the evolution of the elbows up slogan and campaign.
Yeah.
When it first started, everybody seemed to be on board. It was just a patriotic thing because Mike Myers first introduced it as part of an appearance on Saturday Night Live, I believe. Correct?
Right.
Yeah. And then
That's where I first thought.
Yeah, and that's when John told me about it. He phoned me, and I was like, I don't know what it means. It's the Gordie Howe thing.
Just give her.
But then it became, polarizing. It became political. It became a marketing slogan for the liberals, right? And so now, if you say now, if I put that up, now it's you're a liberal. Right?
Yeah, and no, I'm not.
Well, I know that.
No, we're not. Yeah, no, we're not. I don't think we're interested in fighting anyone. I think, wouldn't it be great, panel, the people we have on tonight? Wouldn't it be great if we could resolve world conflict and disputes at the hockey game?
Yes.
Well, we have to make sure that it relates to the last Canada-US matchup because Canada won, if you recall.
That's right.
So,
yes.
I don't want a rematch. I just want to win that one.
Yes.
I have one mug.
You gotta put me in the goalie.
Okay, you can play.
I have one mug that says, "Don't mistake kindness for weakness."
That's right. That's right. That's right.
You know, I mean, that's what we're known for. We've been known all over the world as peacekeepers, not fighters. But I mean, when you get stepped on enough, we're going to fight back with our voices.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, like we've had enough. We're not a rug. Don't wipe your feet on me. You know.
Well, I mean, here we go again. I mean, how many times do we have to go up and down on this roller coaster with Trump? It's frankly ridiculous.
Many times, Rick. Many times.
And and these arguments he's making about the digital services tax, that was from like a year ago, and the whole dairy thing, and that's all old news, man. And he's rolling this out now as though this is his excuse for calling off all negotiations, just ending them. And if you don't do what I want, then we're gonna tell you within. I think he gave us a week, so that was even less than
Rick?
normal 2-week deadline.
Okay, he's what's the word? He's a professional as a shite disturber, and I think for me personally, and I know Rick may disagree and many others, but I'm not sure about Carney either. I don't think he may be brilliant in economics and financial with a financial acumen about how to do business, but I don't trust him either. So that's where I stand. But you guys just go for it. Tell me what you think.
Yes.
Well, I'm starting to think and believe that Trump has.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dragon.
It's okay. I think and start to believe that Trump has this illusion of grandeur. So that's what it is. And
a delusion of grandeur?
Yep.
Okay.
That's probably why he's that kind of, flip-flopping and going from one end to another, but basically never giving you the right numbers or basically lying all the time, exaggerating stuff just to look as good as he is. And look at the speech that he has after that some people has tried to kill him. He went totally God spared my life so I can finish my job, blah blah blah, and so on. So I mean, to a certain extent, you got to push, but push equal, like we say in French sometimes.
It's funny. I just watched a movie last night, and I'm not into a lot of movies lately, and I try to stay away from sci-fi because it's too much like reality. That used to be my favorite. But I watched a movie last night, and it was called Left Behind: The Antichrist.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever get to see that on Prime, that's a movie that will blow your mind of what is actually happening today. And they name a lot of issues. I mean, it's word for word. I don't know who produced this. I didn't watch the reel go by. But when I watched that last night, I went, whoa, yeah, okay. So, I mean, they got away with producing this movie, but it's bringing out a lot of stuff with what the mainstream media did to us in the beginning, what they're still doing, some of them. And if you ever get a chance to watch Left Behind, The Antichrist. It blew my mind.
Okay.
Blew my mind.
Okay. Well, you know what, too? I think our own discernment, to trust our own discernment, and wherever station we are at, and or point we are in our lives. I think it's good to listen to other points of view. I think it's good to engage and communicate always, and before violence. So this is a great platform, Rick. I appreciate the banter and points of view. So there you go.
Did anybody see the crosswalk that's in Brantford for the vet? They removed the Pride crosswalk and they put up a vet's crosswalk.
Oh, wow.
They should be doing that all over Canada.
Sorry, what did they do, Isabel?
It's a veterans crosswalk.
Okay.
Like the Lest We Forget
Oh, yeah.
crosswalk. And I thought, it's either Hamilton or Brantford. And I thought, wow. And when they unveiled it, they had veterans walk across it to initiate it for the first time. I thought, okay, that's what we need. We need less rainbows and, sparkle crap and a little more reality.
A little bit more commitment. Yeah. Loyalty.
You got that right. I mean,
Honor,
I made a flag because I make decals for cars too. I made the straight flag and I put it on the back of my car. I'm waiting to see who's going to yell.
You made the what?
That's amazing. That's just amazing.
Straight flag.
Yeah.
The straight
As
flag?
opposed to the Pride, it's black and white with the male and female symbol, which will irritate my daughter because my daughter is married to a woman, but I'm sorry, I'm entitled to my own opinion.
Exactly.
What you do behind
Eve,
closed
I
doors
can't
is
believe
great.
this.
Like, don't bring out and show your dildo to 4-year-olds in a parade.
No, yes.
Hey, Isabel. One thing about the is I'm just scrolling through Facebook here. Do you know what this video is about? Can you see it on the screen?
Yeah, I can see it. I have to get a little closer. At my age, I can't see very far. You know
Here,
that.
I'll play it for you.
Up to 82,000 Canadian dollars from Canadian government for doing nothing. Yes, I am talking about refugees. If you become refugee in Canada, they will pay you up to $224 per day. That is $140 for accommodation and around $84 for food, and that too tax-free. So it means around $82,000 a year. It looks like a paid vacation to me, but it looks like free money to me. And in addition to this, an average Canadian earns up to 63,000 Canadian dollars in a year, and he pays over 20% in taxes. Then if he buys something, he has to pay 15% again. Although refugee has to pay that, and there are a lot other things that Canadian has to suffer. So become a refugee in Canada and get up to $82,000 free for the whole year.
What's that about?
Can I sign up? I did make a comment on that video saying, okay, I'm going to go out and come back as a refugee because I don't even make that a year as a senior.
Makes you pretty angry, eh?
That really ticked me off.
Yeah.
That really ticked me off. That is an abusive and it's a violation. To me, that really sticks it to the rest of us who are paying taxes, who can't afford. Like I get $1,400 a month. I might make $25,000 a year.
Yeah. Makes you pretty angry.
And you're
How angry does it make you?
How angry does it make me? It makes me very angry. You get a handout when you get here. That should be enough. If that's not enough for you to want to comply with our way of life, then you go back or you go wherever, because I'm not going to pay for you. I couldn't even help out my kids if I wanted to.
Yeah.
How fair is that? After ramming it down your throat, how proud he is. Come on in, guys.
Of course, you know it's a
Well,
lie,
Isabel,
right?
after-
Isabel, you know that's
Pardon?
a lie. You know that's a lie, don't you?
Is it?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
But I've seen a few like that.
So, just because you see the same lie more than once doesn't make it true.
Yeah, that's true.
So how do you, so, you know, I see you posting this shit on your Facebook page, and it's a fucking lie. And there's more and more of this on your Facebook page too. And, you know, after last night's call, Isabel, I felt like puking, to be quite frank. And then I went to your Facebook page, which I've never done before, but as I look for your bubble gifts shit tonight, and thanks for making me look like a liberal, by the way, my friend. Your Facebook page is full of lies. Your Facebook page is full of lies. That's a lie. And you know why that's a lie, Isabel? Because, you know, maybe you haven't taken the time to really think these things through. And I really like you. You know, I really do. But last night was a disgusting call-in show because it was full of bigotry, prejudice, and racism. And then I go to your Facebook page, you say, well, I'm not a racist, but yeah, well, you are. Because when I go to your Facebook page and I see this shit propagated by you multiple times in multiple ways, there's another video on there suggesting that I think it's $63 billion the Canadian government spends on refugees. That's bullshit too. Because you haven't either taken the time to check this stuff because you're so invested in the hate that you'd rather believe the lie than tell the goddamn truth. The truth of this is this guy here may well be perpetrating a scam, not on you, not on Canadian taxpayers, but on the immigrants themselves. Because there's a growing problem out there with people conveying this kind of information to immigrants, or not even people who are immigrants yet, but to entice people to come to Canada so that they can be defrauded and scammed. So they're telling, this isn't even directed at you, Isabel, but because you're picking up on it and racists keep propagating this kind of information, it's fueling hatred and radicalizing people. This is actually aimed at immigrants or wannabe immigrants, people who want to come to Canada, so that they believe if they come here, they will get that kind of money. And then you have scam artists out there who take advantage of these people with false promises so that they can then get these people to give them money, and they set up fake offices. They even pose sometimes as immigration officers. And then they take these people's money when they're trying to come here. Refugees, people who are the people who can least afford it. But then people like you, Isabel, who are careless and full of hate, come on my show and spew your hatred and exploit the platform to get to the people. And even though I love you, I cannot stand for it. Because what you did last night was disgusting, and what you're doing here right now is disgusting, and it's a fucking lie. And it's hurting not only the refugees who are coming here, but people like you and people in our audience and Canadians, and it's dividing people, and you are full of hatred because you're just listening to this stuff and not using discernment. You think that just because you watch a video that's the truth because you don't trust the mainstream media anymore. It's disgusting. These people are getting fucked. They get here and then they just come here for a better life, and then assholes like that. And I can't say for sure if he's involved or what the hell his exact story is, but this is exactly the information that they convey to people who want to come here to escape oppression because their houses have been blown to smithereens by bombs, some of them funded by our tax dollars. And then they come here hoping for a better life, only to encounter people who scam them out of what little they might have left. And then you come on here and rip them and criticize them and convince people to hate them so that when they're walking down the street, they're vilified and marginalized and insulted. Well, I'll tell you that the other day, just the last time I went to the grocery store, a lady came out of the grocery store. She's obviously of similar persuasion to this gentleman. And you know what she had written on the front of her outfit? The word happiness. So I'm sorry, Isabel, but I'm not just going to let it slide. Fuck you and your hatred. Fuck you, Isabel. And fuck all of you who are out there spewing this shit. These fucking lies. This whole freedom movement. We've talked about it here. At the core of it, Mike Pence, solid man, real solid Christian guy. He's a real conservative. He's not a populist fascist Nazi. He's a real conservative who stands up for what's right. And he called it out about a week ago on a Sunday afternoon talk show. He said at the core of this whole thing is racism. That's what's going on in the pot. That's what's going on in the Trump movement, in MAGA. That's what's going on up here right now with the PPC and the freedom movement. It's racism, bigotry. And I'm sorry, Isabel, I love you, but fuck you, because you got to stop. You've changed. So many of you have changed because you're just watching this shit online and it's poisoning your minds and your hearts. And it's not right. We might have a problem with immigration in this country. I believe that we do. I think the numbers are just simply too high. But you cannot just smear entire groups of people with a single brush. You can't tar them all with the same brush, because I've got a neighbor who hates my dog and you had a neighbor who hates yours. They're two totally different skin colors, different ethnicities and religions. They just don't like fucking dogs. Okay?
And I could agree with you, although I grew up with racism, and you know that.
Isabel, you think I didn't grow up with racism? You think I don't know about racism? Everybody knows something about racism.
Yeah.
I've been to First Nations as a reporter where, people on the councils there wouldn't talk to me. You know why? Because they didn't trust me. I know what racism is. I worked down in Texas for a while. I know what racism is. I've experienced it. I've had to stand against it because there's no freedom in the kind of shit that guy spews, or the kind of shit that you've been propagating and repeating, because you haven't taken the time to really check it out. And you haven't been careful enough to stop it from letting it poison your goddamn heart. I had an uncle who was nothing but a goddamn bigot. I loved him to death. He was my godfather, but he's a freaking bigot. He's passed on. And I understand, because he was from a different era, but it doesn't excuse it. And it doesn't excuse what you've been doing either. And you're over here, and you started right in on it again tonight. And there's other shit on your Facebook page, and you should take that shit down, because it's a fucking lie. And it hurts people. It divides the country. And you know what it leads to? Fucking violence.
Yeah.
No excuse. And I don't tolerate it here. I've kicked people off the show before. I haven't kicked you off because I love you, because you've changed. And that's what I'm trying to do. I have so many people in our community who are poisoned right now, who I've seen change, friends of mine over the past 5 years. Radicalized, shit fill in their heads. They've changed. I have been susceptible to some things, but never to that. And I will not. And I'm climbing out of those rabbit holes. That's what we're doing here every damn night. Truth, not lies. That's a lie. You spread that, you keep talking like that, you keep letting people say things like that or that are not true. You don't check the facts. You just let people spew off with these numbers, these stats. You're as bad as fucking Trump, making shit up on the fly. This is why the world's upside down right now. We're on the verge of a third fucking world war, nuclear holocaust. It's because of the lies. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
We don't even know what's real anymore, and that's not real. That's a fucking scam. That's a scam on everybody. That's a scam on our society, a scam on the most vulnerable, a scam on you. That's taking away your freedom. You're not free. You are a fucking slave because you believe it. If you believe the lie, you're living a lie, and there's no freedom in a lie. I'm dedicated to freedom, and the only way to freedom is through truth. Dedicated to truth. I do not lie. I will not bend the knee. I will not comply. I don't care how much money people offer me. I don't care what kind of shit they throw at me or how they try to insult me.
Rick, how do you know when, it's true?
That's right.
It's very difficult to know, but the thing is, you have to go to the sources. You can't just watch a video and think that somebody is telling you the truth. And there's a thing called circular reporting, right? Somebody sent me some other information about just last night, Bill Clinton, Epstein Island, an anonymous video, like the anonymous group. And then there's this what appears to be like a news organization. I know who they are, and there's a bunch of money behind it. It's all propaganda. It's not fucking true because there's nothing verifiable behind it. You can't just take it and believe it.
Yeah.
So, Isabel, I looked at that video. I instantly suspected that it wasn't true. So I went and I just checked the facts. I've got the shit on my screen right now. Government sites talking about the budgets. I've got, I'm not just making this shit up. I'm going back to find verifiable information from the source. If you want to say that the government is doing X, Y, Z, and that they're spending so much money, then I go and see what the government has actually done. I go look for the figures. And it doesn't take that much work. You can just Google the shit. But we owe it to ourselves. You owe it to your children. You owe it to your grandkids to get this shit right. Because if we don't get it right now, these lies become dominoes that fall into the future and will be enslaved forever in a freaking lie. Not just one lie, but a web of lies, an empire of lies. Trump's whole thing is about lying. He makes up the numbers about Canada. This whole shit, oh my God. You cannot do this. This has to stop. And I won't let it happen here. And as much as I love you, I'm laying the law down. This is a lie. No excuse, not acceptable, no room for it here. None. No propaganda.
I appreciate, you know what, Rick, I really appreciate all the work, all the time and the effort you make every night to speak about, the current topics and also long-term views. And I thank you, Rick. I'm grateful. I mean,
this is just one document. Just one
sometimes
document right there. Okay. Like this is an older one. I've got a whole series of them up on the screen. I went to look at this stuff today, Isabel. I knew there was a lie, but I have to prove it. I spend so many hours every freaking day verifying information, checking things, checking the information. What was the budget on this? Which department did that? But not going to like freaking InfoWars or Real Deal Media or some fake freaking propaganda site. Go to the source. Oh, I saw 5 videos and I said, because that's the trick. They put the shit out there. And then that's what they did with the Bill Clinton video. It's political stuff, right? So they're trying to smear him. So it's just like anonymous. Somebody puts out a video that looks like it's from the activist group Anonymous, saying there's a video of Bill Clinton raping a teenage girl. No, but they don't show you the video. They just make the allegation. Then this pseudo sort of semi-fake news organization that's sort of private, but there's a big money behind it. They do a whole story about, how Anonymous came out and talked about this allegation of a video of Bill Clinton being, raping this teenage girl. And he looks very credible because it looks like a real news set. But he doesn't show you the video either. And then it goes on from there. And then it ends up the next thing, it's on freaking, they're talking about this shit on Fox News. Another example, you know, Trudeau, right? When he was still prime minister, those allegations of the sexual relationship with the teenage girl at the private school that he was teaching at, that's a fucking lie. You know why I know it's a lie? Because I traced it all back. And I found out that the way they did it is they pay, there's it's called the Buffalo, I think it's called the Buffalo Chronicle. It was a while ago since I researched it. You pay money to this fake online newspaper to plant the seed of a story. And it started there. So this guy gets this money. You can do it for a few $100. He'll plant the seed, and then it gets online, and it looks like a very credible news site. And then from there, this story evolved. It's like a snowball. This is the way it works. And then the next thing you know, it's picked up by a couple more sort of small independent organizations. They start to repeat it. The next thing you know, it's on Rebel News. And they carefully word it so it's an allegation. And then what the opposition parties do, because they may well be funding this stuff, is then they go into Parliament, you see? And in Parliament, what maybe people don't understand is these politicians, these members of Parliament, they have parliamentary privilege, which means they can say anything in the House of Commons and not be prosecuted for libel or slander. So they can allude to or even just talk a little bit about this stuff. They can even come right out with fake allegations and not get prosecuted. Now, step outside the House, it's a different story, but in the House of Commons, they can say this stuff. They can spew the lies. And then that gets picked up. It's a dirty, dirty, dirty game. And because of social media and AI, and because people barely even understand what, the different levels of government are. They don't know the difference between the judiciary and, the executive, and they don't know what the difference between the province and the federal governments are in the areas of jurisdiction. People don't know. They're not taught enough. And they're too busy living their lives. So that we're fed this stuff online. And what's going on here tonight with this stuff, this is the worst. Because this is what leads to the fascism. This is what leads to the divisions in society. This is what leads to the hatred. And the hatred spawns the violence.
Yeah.
Get it out of your heart. That's not what this place is about. You want to do that, you go on over to BitChute or, go hang out with some of the white supremacists over on Twitter. Okay. There's lots of places you can go, or you find yourself a Discord community. You'll find plenty of hatred to immerse yourself in over there, but this ain't the place. Now, if somebody's got something wrong, or if there's something to criticize, if you want to talk about laws and public nudity tonight, we can look at that as an issue. All right. But I don't want to do it with hate in my heart. We can look at it as a larger issue, but not with hatred. You want to talk about immigration? We can talk about immigration, but get the facts straight, verify your information, come here. We'll have a serious conversation about it. But I'm not going to sit here and just let people spew shit, fake numbers, unverifiable information, just everything fueled by emotion. It's not a cheerleading session for hate. Not around here.
Yeah.
Over to you guys. I've said enough for the moment.
I think you've left a soft speech. I think it's
actually, I was about to say
that's good. Give me a lot of time to think, Rick. Thank you.
I will say, I apologize to anyone listening, to Dragon, is that Carol?
Sharon.
Karen, and to Rick. I apologize. From my heart, Rick, I apologize.
I accept your apology, Isabel, and I do love you. I do. You're one of my favorite people.
I love you too. Like I said before, we could agree
to
disagree.
Not on this. Nope. Not on this. No. No hatred. Facts. It's not about the skin color.
No, it wasn't about the skin color. Not at all. Not at all.
Not, yeah.
But I apologize.
You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. I do. I know what you're talking about.
And you're not the only one, Isabel. I'm going to share this tonight because I'm tired of this shit too, from John out in Alberta. Last night, he texts me and says, "Love you, Sir Rick. Great show. Ron, love you too." This is his friend who's in the hospital, apparently, right? Then every once in a while, this shit happens with John out in Alberta. He goes off on me and other people too, but mostly me. "You are a true asshole, Rickster. Fuck you from Alberta Oil. Rich, you are not. Fuck you, bro. You fuck off. Don't shit on Albertans. Sorry, Rick, shit in Alberta, sir, or you have big problem. Me, Rimby John, oil rich, $, $sign. I'm not making it up. It's all right here. You are not, bro. Don't insult my Alberta, Rick. I didn't insult Alberta. LOL, love you. Alberta is separating Canada. Steal from the West, steal the rest. Oil money, no more, never again, no more, 50 years, no more. No more free oil. Fuck you, Eastern bastard. No free lunch, Rick. Pay your own fucking way off. Fuck off. No oil for you. 250 billion. Pay us back, Alberta, Quebec. Don't ever shit on Alberta, sir. Piss me off. I had a hard week. My friend. Okay. And then it's just don't shit on Alberta, bro. And then love you, Rickster. I don't get it. Don't fucking get it. And I don't deserve it.
I mean, you can vent your anger. Oh, go ahead, Isabel.
Yeah, that's double talk. But John does that, doesn't he?
Well, you can vent your anger, but you don't have to personally insult or tear down somebody to do it. I mean, that sounds crazy. That sounds crazy.
That's kind of crazy.
I mean,
doesn't it sound crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like, I mean, people, come on.
He went after Dragon before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the day after he comes back, I love you, Dragon. You know, you're my best friend. I'm coming to Montreal, having a beer, whatever. I mean, look, I'm friendly with everyone.
Montreal, like Montreal, you live in Montreal, but he makes it sound like because you're from Montreal, you caused all this.
Well,
you know?
Yeah, well, I'm Quebecer first because, you know, Montreal is part of Quebec. So politically speaking, if you look at the geopolitics of Canada, it's part of Quebec. So, I mean, I'm all probably to blame for what Quebec do or don't do. And that does apply or not to Alberta. But yeah, you know, I mean, what do you want me to say?
You know what, you guys, there's something odd because over the decades, I mean, just you know, when my parents came here after after World War II, it was sink or swim. So, you know, I can relate to the struggle and courage and bravery of those who are trying to set up a life here without knowing the language and many other things. But all I can say is this built up, I don't know what it is, this built up resentment or anger. It just seems to be, you know, toward others, quotations, the other. I think on both sides of the equation that there is, I don't know. It's I can't put a name to it, Rick. It seems to be amplified or highlighted more. Highlighted, yes. You know, people seem to react as opposed to reason. People seem to be, you know, instead of a 9 in the conversation or a 2 in the conversation, it becomes a 9 right away. You know, at the level of discourse. So I think it's very odd, very unusual. And I just hope we try to remember that we're all the same and we're all different. So it's good to keep in mind that respecting differences and treating others as we would like to be treated, as the golden rule is good to keep in mind at all times. And if I'm shit on for whatever reason, try not to react in the same manner, whether because I'm white, I'm European, first. It's just a matter of keeping in mind that what Jesus said, they do not know any better. Forgive them, for they do not know. Oh man, it's been a wild ride. I'm sure for you, Rick, with all the different pieces of information and people that are emailing you and telling you what they think of you, and I'm thankful for your patience and courage as well.
Well, thank you. And as we kind of come nearer to the end of the program, I want to share something with you guys as we work our way toward the big Dukes of Hazzard General Lee jump. That car in itself, very controversial, especially when you're talking about immigration, racism, right? Because it's got that Confederate flag on the top. Well, back in 2017, I did an interview with Ben Cooter Jones. He played Cooter on the Dukes of Hazzard TV series.
Oh, yeah, Cooter.
Right. So I'm going to share that interview with you now, and then we're going to do the big jump at the end of the program. So if you guys don't mind sticking around for a few minutes while I run this as part of the program, because I talked to him about this back in 2017. And, regardless of what's said here, people still have pretty entrenched views, but I hope this helps. We are at the Fleetwood Country Cruise in London, Ontario, and I am with the very famous Ben Cooter Jones. What do you think of this show? I mean, you're welcome to Canada.
I've been, over the years to a lot of car shows. Our show, the Dukes of Hazzard, and car shows are a natural fit. But I've never been to a car show this spectacular in such a setting with so many happy people, so many beautiful cars on a perfect day for a good cause. I mean, this what Steve does here is really remarkable, and I'm just honored to be a part of it.
And you're bringing out all kinds of Dukes of Hazzard fans today.
Well, and that's a lot of people all over the world. The show's been shown in over 50 countries. And, of course, it came on the air here as soon as it came on the air in the States. And that was almost 40 years ago. And yet it's about as popular as ever because each generation that comes along seems to fall in love with it. Our show doesn't age. We age, but on the show we're always young and we're always in a fantasy land and the good guys always win. Nobody gets hurt. And that's the way the world ought to be. But the Dukes of Hazzard, it just keeps going on and going. It's going to outlast all of us.
Yeah. Was it the family-oriented nature of the show that gave it its longevity?
That's a part of it. There are great values in the show where the kids are really taught right from wrong. They always make the right moral choice. The Duke boys do. They're the good guys, and they'll stick their neck out for you. They always do the right thing. Yeah. And that's because their Uncle Jesse taught them that way. And so, but it's a show that has those kind of, great family values. It's an overused phrase, but it's true because it was about a family and families watched it together. And there's very little programming like that anymore. But our show holds up with the great action. Slapstick comedy never gets old. Great country music, Waylon Jennings, Loretta Lynn, all of those people. That never gets old. And, looking at Daisy Duke's legs, that never gets old either.
And you mentioned the action, and that comes back to the car, which was a star in its own right.
Sometimes the car was getting 20,000 fan mail letters a week. The car. And they send back a picture of the car, but then they said, well, it needs to be autographed, and they ran a tire track across the postcard that they'd send back. The car was very popular, 1969 Dodge Charger RT, and it's a beautiful car, and people collect those too, of course, and build them. There are over 1,000 of them in the United States and Canada that fans of the show build. Yeah, it's a big event we're having at the end of July, the last roundup of the whole cast together. We'll jump a couple of cars, 2 days of music.
We can see that on the camera.
2 days of music, 2 days of stunts. All the entire cast is going to be there, and we'll have wrestling and bicycle stunts, all sorts of
Wrestling.
things.
So if I come down, you gonna wrestle me?
Yeah. We got Rock and Roll Express is going to be with us wrestling.
I was 27.
They're famous.
If they do it again, Isabel, you're on with
it's just a
Trump in the
big
ring.
old time. We'll probably have 20, 25,000 people showing up. 2 days of great music, all kinds of good music. 2 days and already we have 130 General Lees coming.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's like huge.
So, CootersPlace.com or Cooters Place Facebook. We're high tech now, in Hazzard County.
Yeah.
When the Dukes of Hazzard came on the air, there were only 3 networks in the United States: ABC, NBC, and CBS. So on Friday nights, we got ratings that are unheard of now. 35, 40 million people a week watching this show. And, there was no internet, there was no cable, no satellite dishes, none of that stuff. So that's what people did. Everybody on Friday night, the whole family would get together, get some pizza, popcorn, and when Dukes was over, the kids went to bed, and the parents watched Dallas.
I don't know if I should even ask you about this. You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but I'm just going to ask about that flag on the roof of the car. And I know that you've kind of taken a stand on that.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, well, symbols mean different things to different people. And to us, it means something very positive. It stands for independence. It stands for the spirit of the South. And as a Southerner, we've worked my entire lifetime to bring people together. And Hazzard County was a place where there was no racism. We were colorblind, and that was a positive thing to show people. And so we've got no problem with it. All of my people fought for the South. They were of their time. They might have come out on the wrong side of history. But history is complex, and we have different views of history. Everybody does. And my view of it is quite different from these politically correct people who are into cultural cleansing. You can't change history. You can't judge my good heart. And I came out of the civil rights movement in the 60s. I grew up in a black neighborhood. I've never had one complaint about our show. And so I think that speaks more for bringing people together than it does for dividing people. We are into building bridges, not building walls.
And I guess the focus on the show just shows how popular it is even today.
Among all races, all over the world, all religions. As I say, I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about it. And growing up and living in the South, all of my life in the Southern United States, most of the black folks I know watch this show religiously. Because everybody related to it, It was a harmless thing. And I think it's now being politicized by people who have a very narrow view of our hearts and of our traditions and of the South. So I think we represent the United States well. The show is shown all over the world in over 50 countries, and it is beloved because of those values.
Well, I guess people can come down and check out your event. And I know the South really, to me, is all about hospitality. And
that's right.
And I hope that we've extended some Canadian hospitality.
I'll tell
to
you sure have. Oh, Canada, my home. I know that.
I didn't know we were going to get a free concert.
Well,
too.
I watch a lot of hockey games. We stand on guard for thee.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
Privilege.
Thank you.
Stark Auto Sales. Yeah, those are the before times. 2017, and things have changed even since then. Thoughts tonight before I show you the big jump?
Well, I was a fan of the show actually when I was a kid, so
yeah,
reminds me a lot of.
I love what this
sorry,
man
go
said.
ahead.
I think the more hospitable and gracious we are to one another, the better it will be. I love what this man said. Just perfect, on the dime, on the spot.
Yeah. Even so, the show kind of banned in some places now. The car has been, Warner Brothers put that car away. It's like all hidden away now, all that stuff. Yeah, the model kits, the die-cast cars, can't buy that stuff anymore. Since 2017, all that stuff is
What
FBA.
the?
Oh yeah, yeah, because of well, the change
Because of what?
attitude, right? The political correctness, yeah.
Oh, for
and
goodness
the,
sake.
and the perception, the politicization of something that is
Yes,
political,
yes.
but was apolitical. And I remember the show when I was a kid. It never, to me, just growing up, that's not what I'm a Canadian though, right? So I didn't have the context or even the history. I was just a young kid, but to me, it just was like a rebel flag. It's sort of it was a joke when they said the South will rise again. It was just a joke to me. Like, no, they're not. That's just silly talk, right? That's a joke. They're not going to rise again. Foghorn Leghorn, but
yes.
But today things are entrenched more deeply, and I don't know. It's a difficult thing, but still fun to see the car jump. That's what the show was all about anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was the thing that I was always looking for, because I was probably 3, 4, maybe 5-year-old at that time. So yeah, to me, the arranged car that was jumping in the bayou was the thing that I was looking for every day, that it was on the air.
Yeah. So this is Somerset, Kentucky, as we say here, and I'll read you the caption. This is off X. The video feed says, watch as thousands pack the streets of Somerset, Kentucky for a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle, an epic tribute to television history. As a replica of the legendary General Lee from the Dukes of Hazzard launched through the air over Fountain Square. The roaring crowd watched in awe as the bright orange 1969 Dodge Charger, a symbol of rebellion and adrenaline, soared across the sky, just as it did in the 1980s hit series, where Bo and Luke Duke constantly outmaneuvered the law in their high-flying chases. The stunt, pulled off with precision and heart-pounding suspense, wasn't just a nod to nostalgia. It was a dream brought to life. Summer Nights cruise executive director Keith Floyd revealed that jumping the General Lee over the iconic fountain had been a running joke among the team for years. But as the show hit its 25th anniversary, they decided it was time to turn that joke into months of planning to make history. So here it is, folks. The big jump in Somerset, Kentucky. I gotta turn that off or I'm going to get a copyright strike, but there you go. That was the Dukes of Hazzard. Big 69 Dodge Charger.
Oh, thank you.
That big jump. And with that, folks, it's time to wrap up for tonight. And Isabel, I love you. John, I still love you, as I told you before.
I love you, Isabel. Love you, Dragon.
Yep.
Love you, Rick.
Love you guys too. And John, you have been and always shall be my friend. Even though once in a while you lose your mind. It's okay. It's okay. From an Ontarian to a crazy Albertan, I love you too, man. I love
you, John.
And I don't have a Dukes of Hazzard car to share with you tonight, but I do have Little Black Vet. How about that one, Dragon? Should I play that tonight?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
All right. A little piece of American Muscle, also from the before times. Man, how I wish we could get back to them. And I'll see you tomorrow night, though, 7 p.m. Eastern. On the flip side.
On the flip side.
On the flip side.
Yeah.
Well, she's sitting in the driveway all dressed in black. Got that slick paint, you know she got the knack. Chrome glimmers in the moonlight, like a star on the rise. When I slide behind the wheel, I feel alive. Oh, I can't deny, got the little black vet, she's my midnight ride. Rolling down the highway with my girl by my side. Fast as a whisper, smooth as a dream. In my little black vet, we're a rock and roll team. leather seats and a rumble that shakes the ground. With the top down low, we're lost in the sound. That engine growls like a lion's roar. Every mile we take, I just want more. Got the little black bitch, she's my midnight ride. Roaring down the highway with my girl by my side. Fast as a whisper, smooth as a dream. In my little black van, we're a rock and roll team. Oh, the world slows down when we hit that street. The wind in our hair can't beat me. With the guitar laying under the stars so bright. In my little black van, everything feels right.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.